Truman Writes.
Welcome back to Truman Writes. This is episode 2. I'm your host, Truman. People call me by other names. Today I'm going to be reading Courtney Maum's Notes from Mexico. It's a chapbook from the cupboard, volume 14, if you're interested in checking that out. I was first turned on to Courtney by my professor, Luca Goebel, who also has a book out, 14 Stories, and none of them are yours. Definitely recommend checking that out. It's a wild read, honestly. Notes from Mexico has been something that's stuck with me, and I really wanted to read it on this podcast because it's not terribly long, and it's fascinating for how short it is for me personally. I didn't think I could get as much as I did from this little book. I don't know if it's that I relate to some of the feelings within, or this desire for newfound freedom or a break from reality, or maybe chasing this dream, or just chasing yourself, really. I think that, that's part of it too. But I reached out to her on Instagram and asked her if she'd be okay if I read this on this podcast, to which she said yes, thank God. And so now I'm going to get into it after I tell you a little bit more about her, because I think she warrants it. She's done quite a bit. She's written 2 acclaimed novels, Touch and I'm Having So Much Fun Here Without You, which were both selected by such outlets as O Magazine, Time Magazine, the New York Times, Glamour, Marie Claire, and others as one of the best books of the summer. Touch was the New York Times Editor's Choice and an NPR Best Books of 2017 pick. Her chapbook Notes from Mexico, which I'm reading today, is a part travel log and part eulogy, and is available online or wherever books are sold. Her short fiction, book reviews, and essays on the writing life have been widely published in outlets such as New York Times, O Magazine, Tin House, Electric Literature, BuzzFeed, and she has co-written films that have debuted at Sundance and won awards at Cannes. So obviously she's better than most of us. At various points in her life, she has been a trend forecaster, a fashion publicist, and a party promoter for Corona Extra. Wouldn't have been the beer I chose, but she currently works as a product namer for MAC okay, I'm an idiot, and other companies from her little home in Litchfield County, Connecticut, where she founded the learning collaborative The Cabins, which will take place again in the summer of 2020. Maybe I'll attend that. Courtney has 2 new books forthcoming in 2019. And, she's happy that we're here. On her website, CourtneyMaum.com/about, good-looking lady. She has a sweet haircut and kind of like I'm gnarly but nerdy vibe. All in the right ways. Let's see. Let's just jump into this. Okay. So I'll read the prelude, and then just get into it. And I'm gonna, there are little divisions. I don't know if they're chapters or sections, so I'll just call them chapters, so everybody gets where I'm breaking. All right. Prelude: the importance of a pause. Let's start this over. Prelude: the importance of a pause. At a pivotal point in the movie, Blue Valentine, the actress Michelle Williams beats her chest to emphasize that there is nothing left inside it for her husband. This is not what happened in my life with my husband when I told him that I had fallen out of love. I didn't pound my chest. I said he didn't stir me. I compared him to a chair. We were at a restaurant where we'd never been before. It was date night. I hadn't planned to say anything, but all of a sudden there it was. The heartbreak was so fat and wide between us. The waitress actually stared at the table between putting down the menus. The table before putting down the menus. I never said this was going to be perfect. Let's continue. I needed time to think about things, I said. I'd been thinking. Thinking, he said. About what? I've been thinking about leaving him for months, and then one day you see watermelon carpaccio on a menu and your husband says, "That sounds good," and you can't take it any longer. I told him I was thinking about going to Mexico with my thoughts. Mexico is a synecdoche. It stands for a resort in Costalegre, where my husband's father's first wife, Mirabel, fled after my husband's father left her. Leo's father is still friends with Mirabel. We're all still friends with Mirabel. My husband's family is French. I told him that time off, real time off, would be good for us. Just not in the same place. He could work on his screenplay, for example. When you tell a man you're married to that you need to go to Mexico to decide whether or not to leave him, there's a part of you that hopes that he will tip over the table, call you a manipulative bitch, and fuck you in the bathroom. And then you'll have dessert. My husband loves me, and I fell in love with him because he is too respectful to tip over a table or fuck me in a public restroom, and now I hate him for it. In the flashbacks to the happier times when Michelle Williams' character, Cindy, had just met her future husband, Dean, Ryan Gosling carries a ukulele around with him, like a bard. Right before he plays a love song for her, he licks his upper lip. His tongue stays there for a moment, while he adjusts his fingers on the guitar strings. Neither his mouth nor his fingers are ready to go. But I do go to Mexico. No one really understands it, especially the first wife of my husband's father, who says, okay, she'll pick me up at the airport all alone. But I go to Mexico. My husband drives me to the airport. I'll be back in 3 weeks, I tell him. He says, hope so. Chapter 1. At the Manzanillo airport, Mirabel's in yellow. Her hair is dyed bright red. Mirabel was something of a something when she was younger. There's no word for what. Not exactly a kept woman or a princess, but she did live in Costalegre for 6 years with an Italian real estate magistrate until he gave her a great deal on a condo because he'd met someone else. Why couldn't Leo come? And the first thing she asked me. We're having separate productive vacations, I repeat. This will be my line for the rest of the thing that is not quite a vacation. He's working on a screenplay. I'm working on a book. I lie and tell her it's a novel because no one takes 2 airplanes to go to Mexico without her husband to work on a collection of short stories. Mirabel says she knows people who can help me. I'm looking forward to meeting them, I say. I shut my eyes at every corner on her long ride out. It's awful how she drives. Chapter 2. The first night of my productive vacation, Mirabel takes me to the home of an Italian. Everyone in Costalegre is either Italian or French. If they are American, they are the type of Americans who have lived abroad for so long that when you ask them when they went home last, they wince and say, "The States?" The resort has 3 types of living options: damp hotel rooms in which no one ever stays, casitas, small, colorful houses stacked on top of one another in the hills, and the massive casas overlooking the Pacific. The Italian's house we go to is a casa with a vanishing edge pool with staff. When we arrive, 7 people are standing on the veranda looking at the bay. All of them have nothing in their hands. Mirabel does not introduce me as her stepdaughter, but I can tell you right now, it would have been easier if she had. The hostess presents me to her beautiful son and his healthy-looking girlfriend. Our exchange is brief. They brought their dog with them from Manhattan. It's a golden retriever, but there's something noble about him. He doesn't look as daft as the golden retrievers you see on the East Coast. The young couple apologizes because they can't stay for dinner. It occurs to me that I'm going to spend most of my time here with the old people in the resort. Mirabel doesn't like to be left alone in the evenings, and I'm not going to be invited out with this couple and their friends because I am alone. At the dinner, I am seated next to a long-haired woman named Renata, who is under the impression that she is more attractive than she is. When I ask her if she has a boyfriend, she replies that she is a more valuable single. We have fish for dinner. Chapter 3. Well, now that she said short stories, I'm tempted to just say story 3, but I'm not sure because I confuse myself with the whole chapters thing. So I'm spiraling out about that while I'm reading this, so I'm just going to say sections from now on. Section 3. My second morning is difficult. After breakfast, Mirabel asks me if I will come on a swim with her. I say I need to stay and write. She looks at the white seat cushion underneath me, the navy blue iguana crawling up to the patio wall. But what will you do, she asks. That afternoon, Mirabel comes back to the house very excited. Her friend Pauline's late husband worked for the famous publishing house Gallimard. Do I know Gallimard? She had forgotten all about this. What's more, Pauline lives in a casita above the writer Alice Walker. Have you heard of Alice Walker? Mirabelle asks. This is awful news about Alice Walker. If my husband were here, I would say, can you believe this fucking news? I imagine her underneath a palm tree writing something forceful, holding her hand up to block the glint from her Pulitzer Prize. She uses the metal as a mobile to keep the birds out of her garden. It is gold and swinging. It is hanging from a frond. Section 4. My husband and I agreed not to talk while I was in Mexico, but there are these ringing phones. In the afternoon, it is a blue rotary on a white cupboard, and it goes and it goes and goes. I have always had a phobia about these ringing phones. The news the voice might bring you. Today my gift is ignorance, the decision not to know. Section 5. Pauline de Castelbajac, wife of the dead editor, lives in a casita overlooking the beach. Mirabelle opted not to come with me to lunch. She said it was, quote, my time. She lent me a hair elastic because I forgot to bring one. In the middle of the elastic there is a grosgrain bow. The pink knocker on Pauline's casita is shaped like a sombrero. A woman leads me down a tilted hallway to meet Pauline, who is standing on the balcony looking at the sea. She's avocado skin, colored and wizened from too much time outside. She is wearing a bikini underneath a transparent sequin djellaba. Her hair is long and thick still and pulled back in a ponytail. She has turquoise eyes. She could be 93 or 60. She must have been incredibly beautiful when she was young. We sit down in the outdoor, seated, poofy area that all the casitas have, except Pauline's white cushions are covered up with fabric, which isn't sewn onto the pillows but rather stuck into them with pins. Another maid comes out and offers me a drink. Don't worry, Pauline says as the maid hands her a Schweppes in a 25 cl bottle. I'm ashamed I don't know what CL means. Maybe it's escaping me right now. But I've never been good with math. You can have wine. She drinks half of her Schweppes down in one gulp. But I will say I am good at drinking Schweppes. I drink very, very well. Sorry, I should have popped back in. I'm now reading Courtney Maum again. I drank very, very well until the day I stopped drinking, she adds. Do you want to hear about my father? Our conversation is very animated, and right when I think that Pauline is going to help me understand how to make love fun again, another guest arrives. He's an art critic. He doesn't seem pleased to see me either. The art critic says he doesn't like a single person out of the winter people except for Pauline. It's so boring, he says, taking one of Pauline's cigarettes from an earthenware pot in the middle of the table. I'll probably be kidnapped. Later, he takes us out to see his anti-kidnapping vehicle. It is a Ford Lariat with hydraulic pumps. It has orange flames painted on both sides. When I drive around in it, he says they think I'm a native. While we wait for the sound course, Pauline points out all the things that happened to her furniture while she's in Paris for her husband's funeral. It's a myth, she tells me, checking behind her for the salad. Paris in the spring. Section 6. Safe list. That is avocado, ocean. Unsafe list. That is man in polo outfit. I passed here that one time. Section 7. Leo cracks. There's a fax waiting for me at the reception. He calls me Moccasin. He asks after his father's first ex-wife. He says he needs to find an exotic animal trainer for the film he's working on. It makes me tremendously sad that he has sent this. I picture him alone in our small apartment on the Rue de Temple. We have not dealt yet with the walls. I want them empty, he says he does too, but then you end up staring at them and they are other thoughts. Excuse me. We moved back to Paris from New York 2 years ago so that he could be happy. Leo missed his friends. His depression was invisible to me, like a tumor. It was off stage for several years. I feel like he wants a baby. I fear he wants a baby the way I sometimes want to dress. Because it will change things for a while, make us both feel pretty. I resent him for the months I have spent carefully picking out things for him to believe in from the life we share. A white bowl of red cherries, a yellow plastic paddle, a beautiful bright thing darting across the sky, the twisted cord of us. Section 8. On my way down to the beach one afternoon, I come upon a scent that reminds me of a lover I've never actually had. It's musky. Vetiver. I'm sorry, I don't know what this word is. As rich as a poem. I stop in my tracks, drunk with images of white starched dress shirts and yellow bars of soap. I feel suddenly sure of it. If a masked man appears on a horse that very moment, and if he manages his horse with elan, and if he were not wearing a cape but a weathered dress shirt and was seated on a western saddle atop a patterned saddle blanket and a lively combination of red and black and mustard, and if the masked man said, "Come with me, escape this," I would have leapt up and put my hands on the horse's withers and leaned into whatever lay beyond the tennis courts. Have mercy, that was a mouthful. Wow. Back to it. No masked man comes for me. I go to the beach with my weathered yellow legal pad and find sand in the canister of my ballpoint pen. Section 9. Did anyone tell you in the weeks leading up to your wedding dress fitting that you would no longer kiss with your tongue? Did anyone tell you that the first part, the falling, and the last part, growing old, are probably the best parts? Oh, but then he's here. Excuse me. Rewind. Oh, but then he's there for you in the middle of the night. And then there was that time you saw a dead cat on the sidewalk and you reacted as you did. Oh, love, oh, love, oh, love. Botch section 9, if you know what I'm saying. Section 10. That night, after lunch at Pauline's house, I have a dream about my husband. In it, we have sex. The sex is not exciting, but both of us come. I think this is the thing about him. He is a weight, but he is my partner. He's like the memory of something shameful that I've done, or sometimes it's like waking up from a nightmare. You think it is only a nightmare, but every nightmare stems from something that you've done. I don't want a baby. I'm scared to lose my life. I'm scared to lose the last embers inside me that ignite when I make someone laugh. The ability to disappear for a while without a footnote. But mostly I'm worried about the coddling, sucking off two people. They need us too miserably, children and men. Section 11. This is how it's going to be, I guess. Strange parties every night. The 11th day of my stay in Costalegre. I give up on writing. My short stories are not a solace here. They are like the ringing phones. The 11th night, Mirabelle takes me to the house of an American who is clearly not American. She has a strong, clipped accent that sounds Polish or German. When I ask her where she comes from, she insists Santa Fe. I meet a nurse at this party with an unnerving case of strabismus that makes it impossible to tell if she is looking at me or searching for the person passing the hors d'oeuvres. She corners me when I come in on the wrong side of the pool, the side without the young people, the side without the bar. The nurse is coming apart in a deluge of stories. We're just a handshake into it when she tells me that her daughter had a horrid accident 3 years ago and now she's paralyzed, minus one leg and several organs. I say, that's horrible because it is, and she says it isn't really, because now she has a great job in Omaha assessing the handicap amenities of hotel chains in the area, and plus, she's engaged. The nurse continues, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to her wedding because I'm the private nurse of a paralyzed man. Look, she says, pointing to an old man in a wheelchair on the other side of the pool. That's him. I look. The man has a bevy of beautiful girls around him in various interpretations of floral sheaths. Oh, my word. Excuse me. That's real, baby. You got to go to that wedding, I say. It's your daughter. I know, the nurse says. I'm sure it will be an unforgettable night. Section 12. I find a place to check my email in an Italian restaurant on the beach. I order a blended juice which arrives with neon curly straw and type away with my head down while people my age lunch on overpriced linguine, nudging half-fish plates of carpaccio to the side. The couple from the first night is there with their golden retriever. He has a Mexican bandana tied around his throat. They meant to stay 3 weeks in Mexico, but it's been over 5. Next up, they're going to Machu Picchu, camping. Yes, they'll bring their dog. The waiters smile at the young man and his girlfriend. There are a lot of breadsticks in these people's lives. I get an email from my literary agent that says he'd like me to commence work on a memoir about the Frenchmen I slept with when I lived in Paris because there's a burgeoning market for lit. I get an email from my mother. The entirety of the email is in the subject line. In capital letters, she asks, "How is it going with the book?" All caps. I added the all caps bit. That is it for me with the restaurant. I walk back to Maribel's condo across 1.3 miles of beach. I'm an astronaut with my computer and the sand. Section 13. No one here seems to believe that my husband actually exists, or if he exists, he has cheated on me, and because I'm American, I did not take it well. In terms of rumors, these are the vibes I'm getting about myself. I am lonely. It is fine. I have come here to do this. Think about marriage as a pulsing object that exists outside of myself. Every day I'm purging the voice that is in my head, but it doesn't leave me, and I can't be sure of its advice. It is a shame that I've had no success with drugs. Section 14. The men here are all lithe and perpetually excited, hovering in clusters like nocturnal moths. They're always dressed ethereally in linen slacks and V-neck shirts and silk scarves that inevitably come from either India or Guatemala if you get to ask. They are all the proprietors of multiple mopeds. They don't eat lunch until someone reminds them that they haven't eaten lunch yet. The women are yellow willows of sequin, spank, and clatter. They're outfitted in frocks, without exception. They're the big catch. One time at another dinner, Mirabelle points across the veranda to a woman in a sari and says, "That woman is responsible for all the sugar in France." No decision comes to me. Voices blur and hum. Section 15. I have started swimming. Swimming really helps. Mirabelle is very concerned about the way I wear a swim cap. She can't get hers on. It is very important for her hair not to touch the water because the henna will fall out. She drives me so crazy about my yellow swim cap that I give it to her and wish her good luck. She goes for a lap and gets angry because the cap is loose and her henna falls out. We're not getting along. The gift shop here is never open. One day I go down to the reception to ask about it, and the man says they have lost the woman with the key. I stare at him while I absorb this information. I wanted to buy some postcards, I say. He opens up a drawer on the desk he is seated in front of and hands me a postcard of a hotel on a beach with a couple people in deck chairs. In white script on the bottom right, I read Hotel Puerto Vallarta. Don't you have any ones of this hotel? I ask. The man shrugs and says, "The gift shop." I say, "The gift shop. When is she coming back?" He shrugs. "I don't know," he says. "Right now she's in Puerto Vallarta." Section 16. I'm not the type of person who talks to priests in reverence. When we get married, we did so without talking about what's what. When I said I'd never wanted children, I guess people thought I was joking. My mother took me seriously when she says grandchild. She is referring to our cat. Do you know what it feels like to know your husband wants a child but is too scared to tell you how badly? And to know that time is ticking, and you're almost 35. Sometimes I wish that I were the one with the penis. It wouldn't be such a big deal if the baby grew inside of him because it's me. But it's me this time. Section 17. There's a man here that I could have sex with if I wanted. His name is Giorgio. He's the resort owner's son. He has a wife and 2 children back in Rome. They can't stay here with him because of the kidnapping. When they come to visit, they change houses every night. I meet him at a party and we have a discussion. He asks me why he hasn't seen me earlier, and I say that I've been writing, which makes me blush. "Oh," he says, "you're blushing." I ask Mirabelle if we can go home early. I lie on the couch that overlooks the ocean where I've been sleeping for these days. I don't know. I think about it. I think about the morning. I think about how it would feel walking back to Mirabelle's at X o'clock. I imagine the touch of his towels and the lack of water pressure in the shower. I think about how it would feel when he came inside me, and I know my heart would split right open when he did, from guilt or relief. Interesting. My chapbook, and I'm not sure if all of them do, but it jumps from 17 to 19, which is interesting. So maybe 18's hidden out there somewhere. Rumor has it that the French president is flying out for the Italian real estate magistrate's annual Chinese New Year celebration. It is 2010, the year of the tiger. He has hired a bunch of stonemasons from Puerto Vallarta to blow a massive tunnel through one of the cliffs. While people are eating dinner on the beach, he is going to have a troupe of hired dancers come out of the tunnel dressed like cats. I meet Alice Walker at a party. I tell her how much work has meant I tell her how much her work has meant to me, even though I've only read one of her books. I'm not the best version of myself in this new decade. There's nothing particular that occurs during my talk with Alice Walker to make me think I am. I meet another man, an orator. He's lost his voice to cancer, and now it's Jiffy Pop. He says if I'm not careful, he'll feed me to the Italian real estate magistrate for lunch. He hisses at me in his shattered voice and asks about the soup. Did I know the Italian eats soup all day to keep him hungry for the fucking? The orator spits at me. His voice is full of steam. A helicopter touches down on the buffalo grass and everything tips over. The French president arrives. I think I would have been a wonderful Argentinian child. I can see myself standing on wooden boxes, pointing at things in the sand. It occurs to me while thinking this that I'm ready to go home now. The homesickness feels unpalpable in my system, like a brown bruise on a strawberry heading down a throat. The resort is unattended to. The coffee is instant. There are dishes of withered limes and empty beer bottles lying sideways near the pool. The striped cushions on the lounge chairs have mildew on the bottom. It was a mistake to go on a vacation with my brain. I underline a sentence from a novel that I'm reading. There are entire abandoned luxury hotels somewhere in the bush of the Mozambique, being kept going by former staff and where there had been no guests for years. It was Norman Rush who wrote this. It was a mistake to underline it. It changes the whole book. Section 21. Laxochimaco, Birth of Flowers. 2 days before my departure, I come across a couple in the hot tub by the pool. The woman has unruly hair, the color of an eggplant. Her fingers are pressed against the waistline of the man's fluorescent shorts. Bene, she asks, putting her fingers down inside them. All day I watch them kiss in the hot tub, ocean, pool. In the dusty business center underneath the gift shop, I draft a fax for my husband. I'll ask around about an exotic animal trainer for your movie. The insurance will be steep. I've been keeping a list of safe and unsafe things to tell you. Safe list. You forgive me. Unsafe. Leo, let me go. And that's a wrap on Notes from Mexico. As you can see, this is a really tightly packed little chat book. And I gotta say, I'm just a really big fan. The parts about her, sort of letting go, and then I don't know. The husband is my favorite character, and it's because I feel sad for him. It's one of those things. I really enjoy her writing. I think you should check out Notes from Mexico. I really appreciate her letting me read this. She was really nice in the DM. I didn't talk to her that much, but she cleared me reading it, and I'm really thankful for her for that, because this is episode 2 of The Truman Show. It's not The Truman Show. And I really sneeze. God. I did it again. All right, and I'm out. This is Truman Writes Podcast, not The Truman Show.
Truman Writes.